Sio, Ale, Didanilasti, Dawadan, SvnoyiWahya. Hello and welcome. My name is SvnoyiWahya, or in English, Nightwolf.
Our destiny is tied up in the destiny of America. Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before Jefferson etched across the pages of history the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we were here. Before the beautiful words of the Star-Spangled Banner were written, we were here. And for more than 2 centuries, our forebears labored here without wages.
In Virginia, there were cases where indigenous peoples were officially designated as Indians on their birth or death certificates or other public records. Sometimes their records were altered to indicate they were Negro or colored. Additionally, census takers went on visual appearance to determine what they believed the individual's race should be, resulting in many people of Indian heritage being recorded as Negro, black, or colored. As a consequence, there exists a large segment of the population with indigenous American ancestry and self-identification that goes unrecognized by modern society.
Who are the real Americans? America keep changing and changing and changing. Let's go back in time when the American Indians looked like I look and roamed the southeast part of the United States freely. I love what the mayor said. We have to tell the truth. We cannot heal America till we fix the foundation. Can we start right there?
We are going to look at some conclusive evidences from Researches, Philosophical and Antiquarian in America by James Haynes McCullough on page 18 on the complexion and physical appearance of the Aboriginal nations of America. The writer states, the color of the American Indians in general is a brown, differing in intensity with various tribes according to various localities, but that it is almost impossible to say what that brown color principally resembles. The cinnamon is in our apprehension the nearest approach to it, though still too inaccurate for general comparison. Under these circumstances, it seems most correct simply to use the general term brown men, who will thus constitute an intermediate class. Continuing to page 23 and 24, he quotes, the Cherokees say that when they first arrived in the country they now inhabit, they found it possessed by certain moon-eyed people who could not see in the day. Barton's New Views. This is apparently, though obscurely, substantiated by Alvaro Nunes. In his relation of the expedition of Narvaez, Purchas Pilt, he quotes, 1520, some of the Indians brought many people before us, the greater part whereof were squint-eyed, and others of the same people are blind, whereat we greatly marvel. They are well set and of good behavior, and whiter than all the rest that we had seen until then. Though America possesses some dark brown men approaching to black, yet it has been almost universally believed that there were no Aboriginal blacks or Negroes found on this continent. He states, but from considering the peculiar circumstances under which a black race was found in North America, I hold it more than probable that the common opinion is erroneous, meaning incorrect. Torquemada says, the Californians showed no manner of surprise at the sight of some Negroes that accompanied Vizcaino on a voyage to this coast, AD 1602. As I have never seen Torquemada's Monarquia Indiana, I can only quote from Venegas, California 239, who says from Torquemada that when a Negro was ordered to distribute some biscuit to the Californians at the Bay of St. Barnabas, the natives seemed greatly pleased at the sight of the Negro, and signified to him that they lived in friendship and correspondence with a people of his color, and that not far from thence was a Negro village. Torquemada undertakes to explain this remarkable circumstance by supposing that Negroes had been left there by some ship from the Philippine Islands, but as he does not quote the time when such an event had occurred, we presume it was a mere conjecture of his own to explain an anomaly of which he had been previously ignorant, and at first we were disposed to think the supposition plausible, but as it was found, on extending our researches, that the Negro character of the Indians on this coast has been distinctly remarked by various navigators, even of the present day, we deem it impossible that any few individuals, who were probably without women with them when left on this coast, could have been able to communicate their peculiar complexion and features to entire nations, even after a period of above 200 years. The subject, however, is still in obscurity, and belongs to that terra incognita of America, laying between the rivers Columbia and Gila. The authorities I have been able to examine respecting the present Negro appearance of the Indians in that region are as follow: the color of the Indians of the Californian missions, seen by Lapeyrouse, Voyage 2, 197-212, very nearly approaches that of the Negroes whose hair is not woolly, and in another place, the color of these Indians which is that of Negroes. Langsdorff, who visited St. Francisco on the coast of California, confirms the observations of Lapeyrouse, for he says, Voyage 440, the Indians there are of a very dark complexion, approaching to black. They have large projecting lips and broad flat Negro-like noses. Indeed, many of their features, as well as their physiognomy and almost their color, bear a strong resemblance to the Negroes. Their hair, however, is long and straight. He continues, this circumstance has been noticed by Strabo as the distinction between the two races, as we cannot admit for a moment that these American blacks were ever driven by stress of weather across the Pacific Ocean to California, unless it be proved they are the descendants of Negroes left by the Spaniards. It will follow of necessity that they have been settled in America from the earliest ages. In another part of America, if reliance can be placed upon the correctness of the relation, a race of blacks were seen at so early a period of our history that it seems impossible to avoid the conclusion that they were aboriginal. I want to take this time to recap and explain. In this section of the book, James Haynes McCullough provides an in-depth exploration of the physical appearance of the Aboriginal nations of America. He notes that their skin color is generally brown, but the intensity of the color varies among different tribes and localities. He further explains that it is difficult to compare their skin color to anything specific and suggests that cinnamon is the closest approximation. He also notes that the Cherokees say that when they first arrived in the country they now inhabit, they found it possessed by certain moon-eyed people, meaning round, which was different from them, who could not see in the day. This is conclusive evidence that the people described now as Native American came to the Americas and seen that our people, which they referred to as the moon-eyed people, were in the Americas from the earliest of ages long before their arrival. One of the most striking aspects of this section of the book is McCullough's discussion of the Aboriginal blacks or Negroes in America. He notes that it was almost universally believed that there were no Aboriginal blacks or Negroes found on this continent. However, he presents evidence that proves this was not true. However, quite the opposite. McCullough cites various accounts of black or Negro people in North America, including a group of people who were seen in the early 16th century and earlier. He notes that it is impossible that these individuals were descendants of Africans who were brought to America as slaves or left there by Spanish explorers. However, he also states that it is more correct that these people have been settled in America since the earliest ages. One of the most intriguing accounts that McCullough cites is that of the Californians, who apparently showed no surprise at the sight of some Negroes that accompanied Vizcaino on a voyage to this coast in 1602. When a Negro was ordered to distribute some biscuit to the Californians at the Bay of St. Barnabas, the natives seemed greatly pleased at the sight of the Negro. They signified to him that they lived in friendship and correspondence with a people of his color, and that not far from thence was a Negro village. This could also indicate that this black man or Negro was Indian himself and spoke the same language.
You see, the whole point of history was that when white Europeans came to this country, they came here as freeloaders. And see, when you all don't call them that, that's exactly what they are. They knew they were coming as freeloaders, but they entered out all the prisons, all the poorhouses, all the mental institutions, and put them on boats and sent them over here to the United States. And the first thing they did was build a state, a new state, form a new state called Georgia, and to build a filter to stop the slaves from running away from South Carolina into Florida. But that whole thing was built and designed to keep black folk contained. And the reason they're going to try to do that, because you see, because black slaves were I call native blacks, because they're not African blacks, they're natives. These blacks are born in the United States, are born on the ships after they were kidnapped out of Africa. So they're not Africans. They were raised totally independently, either on those boats or and after they arrived in America for the last 400 some years. They are natives. Plus, in addition to that, we had blacks in this country as Folsom people way before the American Indians ever came to this country, were ever formed, and came out of Asia across the Bering Straits. And so the Indians are trying to get ahead of blacks by saying, we are natives. You're not any natives either. You came across the Bering Straits after blacks. That everybody on the earth came to the earth and followed black folk. The only natives you got on the earth are black people. They were the original natives. Everybody else came here. They were followers. They came here and were raised in either in Asia or European on the European continent as or in the Pacific Islanders as freeloaders. They got some of the free benefits of what the historical blacks were creating on the earth. Blacks were the original people on the earth. And so what do you call them? Native Americans or original people? That's what blacks are entitled to, which makes them very special people.
They do stick to their traditions, but they also incorporate other things into their regalia. The Indians who remained hid, or they lied about their race. If they could pass for Caucasian, or if they could pass for black, they took on another ethnic identity. But when they did that, they lost their culture. They had to hide and pretend. So now, today, people get really upset and say, well, you're not really Indian. Well, yes, they are. They had to lie about who they were. They lost, for lack of a better word, their public identity.
I'm telling you guys, there's going on. Because it's funny how the blacks here, the original Indians, they got overthrown, right? They even put some of them into slavery. Yet none of them now are getting any sort of land, getting any sort of, I guess, money. Dude, I live close to Temecula. Okay, basically I'm out here in Southern California. I have a friend. This dude gets $10,000 a month. This Siberian man. Okay, and you gotta think that's like this is one of the biggest secrets in history, man. And if you don't believe me, that the original Negro here, okay, the Black Indian, look at the Olmecs.
McCullough also notes that the Aboriginal tribes in America have been described as having physical features that are similar and reminiscent of those of African people. For example, some tribes have been described as having broad flat noses and large projecting lips, which are features that are often associated with African people. Overall, McCullough's discussion sheds light on the misconception of the physical appearance of the Aboriginal nations of America and the various theories surrounding the Aboriginal blacks or Negroes in America by mainstream academics and media.
Everything we've been taught in the American education system is all a lie. Yes, Native Americans weren't the original people of this land. We actually took it from black people. We were so good at it that we just wiped out any trace of their language and their culture.
If you would like to express your encouragement towards these works and content, please go to paypal.me/SvnoyiWahya, or you can even directly contribute through Cashapp at $SvnoyiWahya. Any amount you give will be immensely appreciated. Thank you for your generosity.